I mean, like for me, my personal experience was, if you ever bought a cat back in the day, they were one sold, which was maybe like 60, $70, and they ran up to, well over 100. And the smart person probably would have sold it, but because I was so attached to the community and just what that picture represented, I've never sold it. But I think that's the one thing that's going to be really solidified in the metaverse is us attaching ourselves to that image. And even before I was into NFTs, I don't know if anybody in here was a fan of VR chat, but I used to frequent in there, every day. And there, I had my one character that I always was. So, whenever I was in VR chat, you saw this character that I made, you would know it was me. So I think, really attaching yourself to, these JPEGs and being in the metaverse and representing yourself, to where other people notice who you are. And it's kind of like the same, when you look at, top, I guess you call influencers profile pictures, that image is tied to that person, and they're most likely never going to sell it. So I think the identity behind the metaverse NFTs is it is going to be the future of, like, how we represent ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something very powerful, and Bitcoin unlocked this initially, of this digital scarcity, right? So I mean, just kind of riff on your analogy on VR chat. Like, there's nothing stopping me from looking at your avatar, recreating it one to one, and then trying to like be you, right? And maybe you have a screen name or something, but like still that avatar is not non I guess it's non recreatable. So that is, I think it's pretty powerful. Yeah, that to say there's only a community of 10,000 people that can be part of this community. Potentially it expands, it grows. There's subsets of it. If there's more mints or different characters in the future, and the community grows. But there's something very powerful about kind of like a club or a group of people that are these people, and they could make part several communities. There's overlapping communities. Some people might see the value in being part of this for a period of time. Maybe they want to pass it on. Maybe the other people see a bigger value of being part of that community, and they might purchase an access token or ticket into that community. And I think it's pretty powerful. And once we start seeing these digital worlds, metaverses, generate more utility, more like SaaS or software as a service utility, I think we'll also start to see a lot of the monetary value get unlocked. So, I mean, I think there's definitely a reason why Facebook changed their name to Meta and are betting the whole company on it. Is because they already see that everybody has phones stuck to their faces, right? They see 3 billion people are using their applications, but like, how do you make it more immersive? How do you generate more engagement, more interactions online? And potentially, again, this is just hypothetical, but I can see the world where if you're a Bored Ape Yacht Club member, and on Sandbox or on ChapterX or some other metaverse, there's a concert being held, and only the 10,000 people Bored Ape Yacht Club members can enter, and have a very intimate conversation with, I don't know, sure, Snoop Dogg or Dead Mouse or some of these other folks that are starting to explore the space. Like, what is that worth, right? And what is that worth if that happens once a year? What is that worth if now you're able to become friends with these folks, right? Because you're in the room with them. Maybe there's like VIP events, and the fact that previously this had to be done in real life. You had to buy a flight and a ticket and a hotel, but now you can literally immerse yourself and be like Snoop Dogg can be a dog in the metaverse, and you can be a monkey or whoever you want to be. And like at the end of the day, that is Snoop Dogg. You can kind of prove out. You can probably hear his voice, or you can probably see that it's him. And you're literally interacting with him just as you would be interacting with anyone else that's sitting in front of you. And there's value to that, right? People pay like tens of thousands, and not hundreds of thousands, to get access to other people, right? There's definitely value in that, and that's just one source of revenue or SaaS that these digital worlds can entail. I think meetings, games, even marketplaces are all ripe for innovation here, and ways to unlock value, that I think these NFTs will hold. So it's pretty cool that you guys are pioneering this, and also bringing different worlds together, right? Like, I think I personally haven't seen this, the ability to natively embed your own NFTs or identities into the shared watering hole that you're creating. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, I would just say really quickly, before I'm sure you have tons of questions, just really quickly, if you guys are listening and you haven't checked out ChapterX yet, go to our Twitter profile. You'll be able to find it linked from Pontem and their recent posts, or you can just search ChapterX World on Twitter. Go to our bio and click the link to enter the metaverse. Open up a new tab while you're listening, while you're watching the stream. Check it out. Everybody can go in right now. You don't need an NFT. You can use our default avatar. All you got to do is connect your Pontem wallet. If you don't have one, you can also connect with Phantom Wallet, but we would recommend Pontem, obviously, for this purpose. Check it out. Have a run around, explore some of the worlds, and see what you think.
Awesome. Well, actually, as you say that, so on YouTube we are screen sharing. I was trying to figure out how to screen share here on Discord, but I wasn't able to do it right before this.
Yeah, when you're on a stage in Discord, you can only talk. You would have to be inside like a voice channel to actually share your screen.
Interesting. Okay. So I guess we would have to create the event and a voice channel, but that can be preset maybe. I don't know. We'll ask you for Discord input here. That's a really good point. But yeah. So if you're on YouTube, maybe someone can share the YouTube link somewhere here in the chat. I'm loading it up right now. I'm gonna turn the audio down as this loads up, but maybe I don't know if y'all can see on YouTube as well. Maybe give me a walkthrough of what this could. It's a douche. Okay. So I'm logging in, confirming.
Up on YouTube. And there's a settings wheel on the right-hand corner if you want to turn down the in-game audio.
Cool.
Let me just pull this up on YouTube and see what you're looking at here.
All right, here we go. Awesome. So I'm in this world. I'm an astronaut, of course, and if you're on YouTube, I'm also in the world. Ironically enough, the real self me is also here through the screen share device. So that's pretty ironic. I'm literally both. I'm in the metaverse iteratively. It's kind of funny, and I'm sure this will. So I recently listened to. I'm a big Joe Rogan listener. He's definitely an inspiration for some of this stuff. So he talked to Mark recently, and Mark was, they were talking about the new Oculus and how realistic it is for your avatar to read your facial expressions and then express them to the other people as you're talking to them in a meeting or you're talking to them face to face. And I was just thinking, wow, that's super powerful. And an extension to this could be, your monkey, as it's smiling, as it's asking questions, as it's inquisitive, a large portion of communication is that body language. And there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to put that on a monkey or a dog and then, this stuff becomes really realistic once you get in there.
Yeah, I also saw that interview, man. It sounds like what they're working on is really interesting. So I am watching your YouTube stream. There's a slight delay, of course, so I'm not seeing it exactly as you do it. But right now you're facing a coin. If you go to the center that you can see with the big platform there, and you press the F key,
nice.
You can then go to a selection of worlds. And this selection of worlds is going to have a number of our partners. For now, in our pre-alpha release, we have a few worlds available. And if you win a pre-alpha pass, in our Discord, everybody make sure to join our Discord. You can enter to win access to even more worlds. So right now we have, Pets, Woofer, these are a number of our different partners, Metaplex, Rumble Cats, you may know a few of these NFT partners, and of course, Metaspring, which is like my new favorite area in ChapterX. It's like super cool. And then Tan Ridge, which we just previewed the other day. So lots to choose from. Feel free to pick any that catch your fancy, but these are the worlds available right now, and there's just way more coming in the future. Each are customized to be sort of unique, fun worlds. I might recommend Ghostly Ghost World because there is a mini game there that's really fun that we've had a lot of fun with. So that might be a good one to try. But yeah, so this is basically your introduction to ChapterX. You can choose worlds from here. And there's different mini games in most of these worlds as well.
Oh wow, awesome. Oh, this is all available now. This is awesome. So what should I do here? Walk me through where I should go.
I just hope that yeah, now you can go in as the ghost. So this is like a default character that we let everyone use. Um, it's, and then you actually go in and become the ghost. If you right click and drag, you can actually change. Um, you're a ghost now.
Wow.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, so this is one of our favorite worlds. You see, there's a bunch of hoops kind of behind you, and if you go towards those hoops, the one at the bottom there, you can start playing the mini game. If anybody's listening and you want to try this out, this is actually legitimately fun. Denex and I have spent a lot of time playing this.
Is this another person? Is this
Yeah.
is this you, Denex?
Yeah, so
Oh my God! Wow.
It's kind of like a
Like a Flappy Bird,
style
yeah.
where you
Oh
can-
wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
if
no.
anybody who's familiar with Flappy Bird, this
You
is
can go mine a crystal too. You see all those crystals.
Oh wow.
and we recently learned that by mining crystals, you get access to a fast travel through different worlds, which is actually pretty cool. So, oh, this is great. So yeah, I'm watching you participate in this game. So when you hit the top of the ring there, you actually lose. So you have to start over. So kind of the goal is to avoid hitting the top of the ring. But I mean, this is kind of what it's about, right? It's like making a specified world for the community to come in and interact with, and then giving them experiences.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier about like the utility of metaverses and like how to make them more attractive to people. One thing I think that's essential is like gameplay experiences.
Yep.
And if you look at some of the competitor products, like Sandbox, for example, has been built around gaming, whereas Decentraland is similar to ChapterX in the sense that it's more of a social platform. So I think it's a combination of experiences, and having played a lot of Decentraland in the past, I think they're sort of catching on to that right now, which is, you need experiences, you need fun activities for people
Yeah.
to participate in. And then I think the next part of it, just briefly, is the in-game economy that you
Yep.
kind of touched on too. It's like, because people have custody of these assets, whether it's a house, whether it's clothing, an NFT, I mean, really, the limit is your imagination of what can be an NFT, a digital asset. How can you create an economy where people can actually have a business, like earn money, have a job in the metaverse? Like, that's a crazy concept to someone like me when I first got into the metaverse, probably like a year and a half ago. It's like, wait, I can actually make money here? Like, I can sell products here? I can sell services here? That's crazy. So I think that's the next step for ChapterX and for most metaverses too. Is like a combination of gameplay experiences, but also an actual viable economy, which people could potentially have an entire career
Yep.
in Web3 metaverses, which is crazy.
It sounds
Oh, you're
crazy,
pretty good
but
at this. Oh my god, you're almost there.
I made it to the end. I made it to the end.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah. This is good. Someone needs to race me now to get to the end. Where did Denex go? Okay. This you mentioned the digital economies. It's actually something that already exists. Legacy systems like Diablo. There's a huge secondary market for in-game items. If I'm sure if they could capitalize on it, they would. Similar with RuneScape. I don't know how familiar you are or anyone out there. Just Google RuneScape, Venezuela economy. There's literally people that like live off of mining gold, chopping trees, gaining experience points, cooking lobsters in Venezuela. And people say like, oh, okay, what does this actually mean? Well, one, they don't have other alternatives in their actual native countries, and two, they're sustaining the economy for the rest of the folks that need the items that come from the wood or the lobsters to be cooked. When I was growing up, I played a lot of RuneScape, probably like way too much. So I'm sure some people play World of Warcraft or some of these other games. And and when I got to, in hindsight, in college or whatever, I was like, oh, maybe I should have been doing something more productive with my time. But you know what? Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Nothing, bro. I was just laughing. But just really quickly,
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, these economies do exist. They have existed. I think the difference in the metaverse and Web3 is that if your RuneScape account or your World of Warcraft account gets banned, guess what? All of your gold,
Yeah,
all of your, it's gone. You don't have custody of it. So I
exactly.
think the real sort of unlocking capacity of the metaverse and Web3 is that you actually have capacity, or excuse me, you actually have custody of those assets. So I think that that's kind of what separates sort of Web2 virtual economies and Web3 virtual economies. Now, I will say I don't quite think it's there yet. I don't think it's like truly sustainable yet, but I think it'll take a bit longer. But as you mentioned, Meta, obviously they're betting big on it. They must believe, as we believe, that it's going to happen and flourish in the future.
Yeah, 100. And kind of a funny story on RuneScape. So one, if people are familiar with RuneScape, if not, there's these in-game items that are actually NFTs or tradable finite supply items like a party hat, a Halloween mask, a Santa hat, and they were giving out in the game very early on in the game, and not more. There's only a finite amount of them. Not more of them were created. And they literally broke the marketplace. These things were worth more money than even existed in the game, which is pretty crazy. But to your point on these are centralized servers that can be hacked. Someone figured out a way to mint more party hats. Someone figured that out, and it completely crashed the entire economy of the game. You could argue, okay, whatever, it's a game and they could be reset. But for people that spend hours and hours of time trying to get this party hat that's now worthless, like that means something, and that shouldn't be okay. That we should have safeguards and guardrails around, minting in-game items which do have real world value. These things are anchored to secondary marketplaces on the internet where people are like, give me $1,000 for a party hat, like $2,000. Like these things, even though they might be arbitrary, they had no utility in the game other than to make you look cool and say you had one, were worth like $1,000 in secondary markets. I spend most of my childhood, and going back to this analogy, I spent most of my childhood mining ore, gold, chopping trees, selling it in marketplaces. I set up a whole business, and this was me as like a 10, 12-year-old child. I literally set up a whole business where I would have employees that would cook lobsters for me. At first, you got to make it yourself. You have to. First, I had to be a fisherman or a lobster catcher myself to get enough experience points. And then at one point, I realized, oh, maybe I can pay someone to cook them for me. And then all I have to do is go sell them in the market, and I can sell them in bulk. And I started having employees under me. Obviously, maybe like contractors, and there was the economy was for these in-game items, right, or in-game coins. But it was a whole enterprise. I was a little merchant, 14-year-old merchant, buying and selling lobsters to people that needed them to go fight other people in like the player versus player arena. The lobsters were really high demand because it's like this, really high health regen item. So it was really expensive. But I realized at some point I could go into the forums, find someone, and then I realized I don't even have to catch these lobsters myself. I could go and buy them and resell them. And then if I find someone to cook them for me, then I make even more of a profit. So I would go into the forums, find someone selling 10,000 lobsters. I would buy those 10,000 lobsters, then redistribute them to folks. Some folks would cook them. They would give back the lobsters, or I would cook them. Then you would sell the lobsters at a higher margin. Now cooked, you could sell them individually to people as well in the marketplace and make even more instead of selling them in bulk. Or you could try to resell them in bulk. And it was a whole business. And at the end of the day, in hindsight, like I told myself like, oh, I shouldn't have spent more time, but I learned a lot. As like a child, learning how economy works in this digital world probably taught me a lot of things that are very valuable today. How to, if anything, how to hustle and maybe kind of like make your own business, I guess, right? And then end of the story, I kind of to wrap that story up, I ended up getting one of these Halloween masks. I bought an Easter egg, and that went up in value. And then I bought, I sold a few more lobsters, and I was able to buy a Halloween mask. And I was like, okay, I win. I got to the point where I probably don't want to play anymore. I need to go to college. And I think I lost my account or something because I don't think I still have access to that, or maybe RuneScape went down, or the second RuneScape went down. But all that time spent, I wish that thing would have been an NFT and at least carried it with me. as some form of badge. Potentially put it into ChapterX to wear, this Halloween mask to wear. That might be cool. But anyway, that's just to say, like, we think this stuff is new, but it really isn't. It's just a new layer on what already existing.
I kind of want to piggyback off something that you said there. Where you wish the items were an NFT that you could carry with you. So for me, I play League of Legends a lot, and and I'm sure it's like the same with like Fortnite or like other like MOBAs or like battle games or like even like Call of Duty and stuff like that. But I spent a lot of money on buying these skins, and there's really no value other than like once you buy it, then every time I play the game, like I like to have a skin for whatever character. But like you said, what happens if I lose my email or I get locked out of the account or I get banned? All that money that I spent on there is basically gone because it's tied to that account. But if we were to be playing games and all of this would be on the blockchain, like I would be able to have ownership of my items other than just owning it and the game holds all my property. I think it would be better for me to hold all the stuff that I bought, meaning that it's mine and I own it, than not. So, and then even the option to trade. And I think that's one thing that I think it's CSGO. I've never played it, but I know their system, it's kind of like NFTs where you unlock skins, guns, items, and weapons, and there's a marketplace that you can sell them on. So that's one thing that I think like CS:GO has kind of like adapted with like what Web3 is doing. So I think that's like you said, we're so early in this, and I think it's something that's going to be mass adopted everywhere to where everything is going to be tied to the blockchain, and we're going to actually have ownership of our own assets, items, and I mean, even, for us, like in the US, we have social security cards. Like, I've lost mine before, but like, what if it was tied to the blockchain into a wallet, that I had the keys for that, it's just there for me, wherever I go, and I wouldn't lose it. So I think, that could be something that's going to be, adapted in the future. It's just ownership, like the real ownership of all your items tied to the blockchain where it's just there forever.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry.
I just wanted to quickly say, man. So I just saw on your stream that you've entered Genopets World. Guys, make sure you're looking at the stream. Check out how cool this world is. I mean, this is really where you can see the skill and the talent of the 3D modelers and the artists that are working on this game. I mean, this environment is absolutely beautiful. You've got this giant pyramid here. You've got this reflective pool. I mean, this has to be my favorite world. I don't know, Anya, Chase, what you guys think, but I think they did an amazing job on this one.
As well as the sound is amazing.
A bit of the backstory, like, Genopads is one of the first moves to earn blockchain game on Solana, and then when we decided to build this wall for them, and they just gave us like graphics, like a 2D graphics that, and they say this means a lot to them, and then that's how we bring the 2D graphics into like 3D reality. And then you see these different things that you can mine, like are different from the crystal that you saw in the Ghosty Ghost worlds. So these items were actually inside the Genopets games as well. Obviously, so they have like special names and different kind of energy crystals that are 100%, like it's basically the same materials you need in their game. So there's like some degree of like storytelling here. Each wall have their own story, have their own elements, have their own environment. Like things are not randomly put here just because it looks cool, but like this pyramid means a lot to the community, and these elements are like, they work hard to like get these elements to feed their pets.
Oh wow! And then are these same NFTs that are interoperable in their game as well?
Well, right now the elements that you're mining are not NFT yet. But then like when their NFT Genopets NFT holders come in, like they can see how their avatar evolved. When they just start gaining points in their own game, it will also show up in this world. So
wow.
interoperability.
Exactly. And you
Yeah,
don't even have to ask for permission to do this. You could just like say, hey, look, you just connect the API, whatever the utility of their NFT does. You add, a front end like this that's a metaverse and digital at the beautiful digital world, and you just enable people to do the thing that they're supposed to be doing, but now they're like doing it in kind of like in real life. It's cool, huh?
yeah. So you can actually go inside the pyramid. It's on the right. On the right. Oh.
This way.
You can actually go inside to the pyramid. There's like a keep going.
Okay, I'll follow Gen
Okay.
X sounds. Yeah. All right, the next one we do in here. We have everyone in Discord needs to come in and we'll hang out in the metaverse.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, actually, on your left there's like a blue circle where you can, here, yeah, perfect. Oh, you can press F. Oh, you pass it.
Oh yeah, sorry, there's a lag on the YouTube.
Yeah. It's on the other side. It's on the back side.
Like a small blue glowing circle. Just look for that. Press F and then you can go inside. I just wanted to say really quickly while you're exploring, I know that your team sent along a list of questions from the community, so
Oh yeah, we
I
should
don't know
definitely
if
get
you
to
want
those.
get into those, or if we have time, happy to answer a few of those if you'd like to go through those as well.
I mean, I have until probably till like 11. I have another like 15, 30 minutes for sure. So, here, let me pull them up. Okay. And also, if folks want to come up, we also give people the opportunity to come up and on stage and ask questions as well. So if people want to come up.
Oh.
Also,
You should. Oh.
yeah,
Oh
sorry.
yeah, it's right next to. Oh yeah. Oh you just keep walking a little bit, then you can see a
Oh, wait.
dot.
Here I go.
Oh, I think I see it. Okay. Maybe, I think a door.
There it is.
I see it, yeah, I'm in. Okay. It's a secret entrance a little bit, I guess, but I see it. Wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
This unlocks the imagination for what actually was inside the pyramids, which was probably the aliens that we're seeing here. If y'all are not avid listeners of this live stream, one of our favorite questions to ask folks is what they think about aliens. I personally think, I mean, I have a lot of theories, but if the simulation theory is real, Nick Bostrom's posits that it's more likely than not, probabilistically speaking, that just imagine the arc trajectory of this, right? Like we're in 1985. The internet is just starting to get out of like research institutions. Could anyone have picture where we are now? Probably not. And similarly here, this is still very nascent technology. The fidelity of this is going to increase exponentially. What does a real world simulation look like? And then, can we as humans or whatever we evolve into, some form of like human machines with, computer brain interfaces, would we be able to recreate experiences, emotions, everything that we've lived throughout our history over and over and over again, reiteratively? And then, if that was the case, then what are laws of physics? It's stuff that we create ourselves. So it's one of my hypotheses for what these aliens are, whatever we're seeing off the coast of San Diego, is that potentially, it's just glitches in whatever simulation we created eons ago. But
Wow, that got extremely deep.
This live stream is a roller coaster for philosophy, emotions, tech, whatever comes to mind, honestly. Okay, let's pull up these questions. And if you have anybody, let me throw that back to y'all. Anybody have any strong feelings about aliens or what they are or they could be, or are we alone? Maybe. Yeah. Go for it.
What if we are the aliens?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of my hypothesis, is that I think we might actually be the aliens ourselves.
Yeah. Exactly.
I heard someone put it this way, like, what is scarier? Is it scarier to think that there are aliens, or is it scarier to think that there's literally no aliens, no other sentient beings at all? I mean, all
That's
that
true.
stuff that you just said about like glitches in the, whether it's like the Matrix or the simulation, that stuff is crazy. I never like interrelated that with aliens, but Yeah, it's interesting to think about. You think about the vastness of the universe. I mean, surely, right? Surely there must be aliens.
Exactly, and I think it's what Denex said. It's like, what if the aliens are us? You know, we created the simulation, and we whoever we are back then or in the future or some other, you know, transmedium transportation. We are the thing that we don't understand. That seems very plausible. And so Nick Bostrom, definitely recommend people read up on him. He's a philosopher at Oxford, and I mean, his job is to think about these things and try to put numbers around it. And it's super interesting. Definitely recommend reading his papers. One of them is the great filter theory. Some of y'all might have heard of this, but there's, you know, the theory is that there's a great filter, you know, for the answer to the Fermi paradox might be that there's either a filter ahead of us, so, you know, we self-destruct, nuclear war, disease, technology, whatever, and, you know, every living intelligent being that gets to that point just self-destructs, or the filter is behind us, and whatever, you know, led to us creating these digital worlds, you know, standing up, having more abstract ideas like religion, like government, you know, whatever that is so rare that we're one of very, very few in this very vast, and maybe we're so far away that we can't get to each other, or maybe we're the only one, or we're the first one. And that's, yeah, to your point, that's kind of scary to think of. Either if we are the only one, then why? And, you know, hopefully the more optimistic one is that the filter is behind us. I also posit that, you know, time is probably, and evolution is probably happening almost like at the same time. So if others are waking up to consciousness like we are, they're probably around the same. They're probably not too far away. I mean, they may be like a few thousand, maybe a few million years ahead or behind, and we're all just kind of like now waking up and starting to figure out like space travel, maybe like interdimensional consciousness travel or something like that that allows us to communicate with each other. But anyway, sorry, yeah, go for it.
I know. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, any other thoughts on aliens, and then we can hop into questions from the community as well.
I mean, I don't want to go too deep, but there's the other side that aliens are fake and they were actually made up. There's the Operation Paperclip. I'm sure you're aware of that.
What is it? What is it?
Operation Paperclip.
No, I don't think I've heard of it.
So it was. We'll have to jump on a call later. I'll add you, and we can go down that rabbit hole. But I'll just drop that, and then you can look it up, and it's pretty crazy though. But it's basically saying that like the government basically made up UFOs to, I guess, create like a scare to the people, to make them think that they're real, but they're not, and a lot of the stuff is all just like propaganda.
Yeah, I've heard the theory. So again, Joe Rogan is my main source of information, probably the most trusted source. But
Trust me, bro. It's real.
I know, but he had someone come on that was very close to the CIA, and they were saying that essentially a lot of what happened with Roswell and these like quote unquote alien crashes was you know, the USSR, the Soviet Union at the time, trying to propaganda us into thinking that there are these other things like I think it was War of the Worlds. That was pretty crazy. The fact that you know, a fake radio channel was able to create so much mayhem. I think they saw that and they were like, "Oh wow, interesting. You know, this is a way to disseminate disinformation and really freak out the American public." So that's definitely very plausible. Oh, and then what they actually found in those crafts were like humans that they you know, surgically made to look into these alien beings that people describe. And they put them into these like, you know, nascent drones, drop them really high up from airplanes near their own, you know, I mean, New Mexico is not too far from, you know, military bases where they're doing secret studies. And, you know, maybe they were spies or maybe they were just trying to freak us out, but that's definitely very, very plausible. All right.
It's definitely.
Yeah. Anyway.
Definitely past the government.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go into some of these questions. I'm going to throw them. You know, I think we have enough time to maybe rapid fire through these. There's only 11 of them. So, yeah, let's just go down the line. So I know you mentioned a little bit on your the name or the inspiration behind the project name. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, ChapterX?
Yeah, I guess like just now we talked about, X stands for unknown variable, X stands for 10, and in ChapterX Metaverse, there are 10 different theme world that if you're an NFT project or if you're Web3 community, you will find a place that you can belong to. Yep.
Cool. Will you ever go beyond 10 though? Or will that be
That
like
would
the second
be
chapter, chapter
X.
20? Okay, next one. All right, what's your favorite Metaverse project that exists today, outside of your own?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to choose from. I mean, I come from a background in Decentraland. I started a company in Decentraland that was like an events company. So I'm pretty partial to Decentraland. Obviously, guys, I work for ChapterX, so of course that is the best metaverse out there that everyone should be playing instead of our competitors. But I also quite like Sandbox as well. We took a look at Portals, DanX and I the other day, so I think there's a number of really interesting projects coming out, each with their own sort of niche, right? So I'm really looking forward to playing the Facebook metaverse. I've seen some early footage of that as well, which should be really interesting as well. But it's ChapterX all the way. I know you said outside of ChapterX, but I'm just gonna say, guys, it's ChapterX all the way.
I guess as a follow-on to that, how do you see all these different worlds merging, or what would the metaverse look like in the future? So I read Snow Crash, and it was like one metaverse, but it seems like the metaverse is more so these interconnected worlds. So what's your vision of what that looks like?
Well, I'll let my colleagues here if they want to pitch in on this too. But I think if you think about the way that the internet used to be, like when we were growing up, like I'm 30 years old, when we were growing up, we would go on all different kinds of websites. Like there was a website for every
Yeah.
little thing, and then slowly over time, all of this content got consolidated into just a few websites that we go on, whether it's Facebook, Discord, of course, like Amazon for products, whether you go to Medium for reading. It's like we used to have this whole huge ecosystem. So I think that's probably what's going to happen with Metaverse in the short term, is that there's going to be like dozens perhaps of competitors that come up, and then over time it's going to whittle down to just a few more. Now, if those metaverses actually somehow become interoperable with themselves, I guess they would become more of like what you would call a multiverse, which is like distinct silos of different metaverses. It's hard to imagine like what that would look like, but if you ask me, it's probably going to come down to over time, and I'm talking like maybe 20 years, because that's sort of what took the Web 1 to the Web 2 where we're at right now. Things are going to whittle down to probably just 2 or 3 choice metaverses, and then maybe there'll be more like niche metaverses for distinct purposes outside of generalized purposes. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I could kind of say, for me, I feel like, let me turn the music down here. The metaverse, like how I kind of imagine it, is kind of like MMOs or like MMORPGs, where each each metaverse would be basically a different world game. So I mean, you could kind of look at it as like continents, where
Yeah.
you go to this metaverse for these specific things and to do these activities, where elsewhere you'd go to this one to do other activities, and see just kind of how we have Facebook, Discord. Everyone does the same thing, but they all serve their own purpose for the the reach of people that they're going to. Where Discord's mainly video games, Web3. Twitter is more, I guess you would say, political and like just more social, and then Facebook is moms and dads and people trying to run around on the marketplace.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how it will end up in the future. Is just basically each metaverse is going to have its niche, and depending on what your niche is where you'll attract yourself. And you may find yourself going off to another one, but it doesn't fit your vibe or the community that you're looking for. I mean, just as much as we buy NFTs, like there's some NFTs that I buy just because everybody was buying them, but then I go in the community and we don't have like a like-minded mindset to like what this community is doing. So like I may never go into that Discord or interact with the community, but I like the NFT. Maybe it's going up and it's making me money. But then there's some NFTs that don't really make money, but I love the community and what they're doing in there. Maybe they hold cool events, or they have, you know, just good people in there to make some good connections. So I think that's kind of the more future of what, you know, all the metaverses are going to end up being. And then, like, you know, New Legend said, there's probably going to be a lot of merging of projects maybe coming together and be like, okay, well, like, you know, let's just join our communities, join what we're working in the space, and kind of just grow it from there.
And I think what you're building, this watering hole that you're building, is a perfect like place for that, right? It's like, okay, you know, this NFT project, they raise funds, and you know, maybe they deploy those funds to make a fun game. You know, you're saying like, you know, there's specific things you do in each one, and maybe like each one specializes. And like ChapterX, I can see as being like a cool hangout spot to like play games together, to, you know, kind of maybe similar to Decentraland, like host events. Like I said, it would be awesome to have this event. You know, we can get everybody on Discord, everybody on Twitter to join us in this mushroom parkour that I'm partaking in right now, and like compete as we talk. And you know, it's kind of like playing tennis, right? What's the difference? We're playing tennis, we're playing golf, we're playing mushroom parkour, and we're hanging out. And I know, in my opinion, though, I do think that it would be better if there was more verses in this multiverse. You know, I think the spirit or principles of these primitives is that we allow people to create their own, you know, without these walled gardens. Like, if you wanted to take your item out of Fortnite or out of Facebook, you really couldn't. But if we kind of like force everyone to use these core primitives, then anybody, you know, should be able to theoretically build something out of like a Fortnite skin, right? Depending on how they do the IP licensing and whatnot. But you know, I really think that, I really hope that we see more and more and allow people to create their own worlds. And you know, these worlds will definitely grow with niches, and some of them will be more popular. And you know, the core primitives around them, the NFTs, you know, will stay forever just based on, you know, the tech that they're built in. And you know, I really just hope that it's a little bit more democratized, and then the dystopian kind of like centralization that we're going towards. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's also part of like, you know, maybe kind of like government legislation around, you know, digital, like what are the laws around the metaverse? Should some of the same like antitrust laws apply here? Probably, right? But anyway. Definitely agree with all your points and the vision for this. Curious to hear also from Chase or Pepsi, kind of like what you think the vision of like this metaverse and multiple metaverses, what they will look like together.
Yeah, I think metaverse to me is really about the immersive interaction, and you know, with that it comes with like AR, VR, which I personally think is still some ways away. And I think in the near term, to me, it's about, you know, bringing people together closer. And actually, there's a lot of Web3 interactions that can be done in ChapterX already that goes along with that vision. So, for example, in the Metaplex world, you can, if you hold a Metaplex token, which they just dropped with us on Monday, and we had a Metaplex party inside that world. I think we have about 400 people to showed up, and the next thing to do inside is you can use the Metaplex token and vote for DAO proposals inside the world in an immersive and interactive manner.
Oh wow!
And also, there's you can at the same time educate you know, the users. In this case, this Metaplex can educate its users of what voting for these proposals mean, and inside their metaverse space in ChapterX as well. And after you vote for these proposals, everything goes on chain and goes to the DAO, and everything's tallied, and governance runs from there. So this is, I guess, just an example of how Web3 functionalities can function within the metaverse space. And you know, besides that, there's a lot of, you know, Web3 enabled games as well. So we actually have a few other functions like loot box that allows users to use their tokens. So for example, in Jungle Cat's world, you can use the Jungle Cat's token to play the loot box. And that gives another additional layer of utility to their token. So there's a lot of token related or NFT related integrations
That's
within
cool.
the world that can be done. So that to me is really exciting as well.
That's cool, and that opens up the possibility for, I mean, even projects like ourselves that are not doing NFTs. Like I think one point you mentioned on that would be like really, really paradigm shifting here is the participation rate, right? Like in in governance and DeFi and pretty much everywhere, I imagine governance is really hard because it's hard to get people to care, it's hard to get people to show up. But like, what if you turn it into a party? What if you turn it into an event? What if you turn it into like a forum? Social mixer, a concert, and then at the end of the day you voted, okay, what are the parameters going to be for fees, or whatever else thing. But people get. I can envision a world where you put this like maybe like consortia or of folks around like a Greek backdrop. Everybody feels like they're part of this Congress or Senate. They have a say, and you have people go up and argue. The experts go up and argue both sides of the proposal, and then at the end of the day, it's put up to the vote for the people that just watch this whole thing happen. And maybe that's a way to get more engagement than just like text forums online, and that could drive the participation rates way high. I mean, the standard should be like presidential elections, right? Like that's like hopefully most people that would vote. I think it's still only like 40%, maybe 50%. But in governance in crypto, it's the thresholds are way lower. So something like this, where people can get more engaged, more involved, I think could definitely drive more participation. And that's just the beginning of it, because to your point, it can be embedded in a lot of different apps, like a marketplace, right? If you go in and buy swaps, for example, constant function market maker, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to do that in like a real life marketplace as like a backdrop. Or let's say you need access to this utility token to play this game. You can pull that up. The interface can be this immersive experience where you're swapping assets, and you like literally move one for another, and you get like rain all these coins or something, and then that's like you actually did submit. It's just a different web interface for the crypto back end, which are these contracts. So that's super cool. Yeah, I like where your head's at in terms of the vision.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think in the future everything will be much more interactive, and so this is definitely just the beginning. But and also I guess we'll see more use cases of NFTs and tokens, and also interactions between NFTs and tokens. I think right now people are exploring that a little bit. So like some PFP projects, for example, they issue tokens, but tokens for now serves more like a general currency. It doesn't have like too much utility yet. I think in the future there will be more. It will be much more interrelated as well. So a lot of interesting things to come for sure.
Cool. If y'all have time, we can continue going through these questions. I know we're past the hour, but happy to stay on for more time and go through these. I know Joe's are like 3 hours, so this is relatively short, but we've only gone through question two.
Yeah, I'm happy to stay on. If anyone else needs to drop off, if you guys have another meeting, no worries. I can stay on for as long as Pontem will have us. Thank you for your hospitality. It's been very fun so far. I don't know about 3 hours, 4 hours, but definitely a short while longer. You work up to that, man. I mean, you sound like you got a lot to say about aliens and simulations. So I feel like you could be the next Joe Rogan. It could happen.
Hopefully, man, that would definitely, exiting into comedy from crypto and then merging it would definitely be nice. Or maybe we just bring Joe to run this podcast. That might be kind of nice too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just there's so much interesting stuff to talk about, and honestly, this long form conversation is where most of the information comes out. I think it's like a really good hub. But yeah, definitely feel free to drop those that do, and we can thank you for staying on, and we can continue going through some of these.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then as well too. Say if anybody had any, I would say if anybody had any questions or anything, feel free to raise your hand. We can get you up and answer anything you'd like to know.
Yeah, definitely in the community. If people want to come up to the stage, we've had those in the past, so definitely feel free to come on. If not, I continue going through some of these questions. So,
Hold on.
yeah.
I think Tanya needs to drop. Tanya? You there, Tanya?
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. Me too have my final meeting of the day, but still very fun to meet everyone here. Thank you so much. dApps and newsletter will be here.
Thank you, Tanya, and we'll have you back up soon. You know, these are fun. We should do it more often.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Shout out to Tanya. She worked so hard on this project, and I've been working really closely with her on marketing. But she's got her hand in literally everything. She's working with the devs. She's working obviously with marketing and community. And shouts out to her. Definitely have her back on again.
Awesome. Yeah, these are cool.
Because I'm gonna drop too, and yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
Definitely. Thank you, Chase. Thank you for joining.
All right, we'll hand it
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. You're up. You're up on the
Can you
stage.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know. I heard what you guys said, and it's really cool. But I don't know. I'm personally finding it hard to work in the ambassador role. That's right, the developer part. I'm trying to understand it very well. I don't know if anyone could personally help me understand the developer's role.
The developer
Can you
role.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. I don't know if someone can personally help me understand the developer role, because I've been trying to read about the project. I just got in the project. I just got the job recently. I've been trying to read, and it's kind of confusing.
Are you asking about the developers of ChapterX?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, well, we don't have our devs in the call today, so I'm sure that they'd be able to answer your question more specifically.
Okay.
Just generally, right? We have an entire development team from people who work on 3D modeling, graphics, character design, artwork, and then all the way in the back end, right? Like the people who do
Yeah.
the coding, the people who hook up all of these 3D assets and worlds to the blockchain, to Solana, to Aptos, so they can work with Pontem Wallet. Definitely check out our website, ChapterX.world. We'll give you a little more information. And then head to our Discord. One of our mods, if you have any specific questions about moderation, you can tag
Okay.
Dev, and that is Ohad. That is our tech genius of ChapterX, and he should be able to get you on the right track if you have any more specific questions.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. As I like to say, I do the tweets, guys, so I'm certainly not qualified to speak on development, but I can just tell you generally it's the best I can do.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's really helpful.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for coming up. Cool. We can go through more of these questions, or other folks, if they want to come up as well, feel free to raise your hand. So, okay, ChapterX plans to redefine the concept of interaction within their platform. What will be innovative tools they create, and what will that bring to users, and how does that guarantee a genuine interaction to help ChapterX grow?
dApps, do you want to take that, and maybe I can piggyback on what you say?
Yeah. So I guess I would say a lot of what ChapterX is doing is just adding more utility and just more interactions inside the metaverse. Like if you go in when you're in the main world, you'll actually be able to see that we have a kind of like a coin flip, which is very popular in the Solana ecosystem, and then we have a little random loot box where you can pay whatever percent you want, and then there's a chance where you could double, triple, quadruple your investment that you put in there, or you could get a goose egg and get nothing. So there's a bunch of little things like that, and then adding in like I said, the utility of the games and the interactions between other communities. Previously mentioned where we could do events where it's one community versus the other. Maybe doing the parkour or getting to the top of the leaderboard. And then as well too, like let's say, like we're having this AMA right here in your Discord, but we have a town hall function where we could go into one of the worlds and host a town hall, and then, like let's say I didn't know what was going on, but I just stumbled into the world and I see all these avatars, and I'm like, hey, what's going on in here? And then, I listen in, and then, maybe I jump up on the stage personally, and they'd be like, hey, I have a question about your project and stuff. So I think that's kind of going to, help us grow, is just adding in all the other projects compared to some of the metaverses where it's just their avatar to that specific project, where you can run in and you can create your avatar, but it's the project's avatar. Where with us, you have the um, ability to identify yourself with the project that you're most bullish on, or that you enjoy being a part of.
I think that's really gonna bring people together. Like I talked about earlier, just like having different communities interacting at the same time, representing themselves. I think dApps did a really good job right there of describing like the specific development and functionality that to answer your question about how to sort of bring people together in the metaverse. Just zooming out on that, I think it really comes with like building a community. I kind of tend to like cringe almost at the word community in Web3 because it gets thrown around so much. Community has kind of become like a buzzword for almost like a customer base. Sometimes I feel like so I sort of cringe a little bit saying it. But when I say community, I generally mean like, it starts person by person, especially at this stage when you're a project in pre-alpha. It really starts with people not only vibing with your product and your project, but also the people behind it. So that's something that me and dApps do all the time. Like if this was a 3-hour podcast, like we could do it because this is what we do for a living. Like we talk about this metaverse, we talk about Web3 more broadly, and I think through that people get to know you. You
Yep.
build relationships with people. Like there's people in this chat right now from our community. I see Haseo, I see a few other people who are always like rocking with us, like
Nice.
coming to the events, participating in things, and it's like, how do you do that? Like, how do you actually build a genuine community that's not a buzzword? It's giving people value, but it's also just like the relationships that you build. Like, if people like hanging out with us on voice calls, they like joking around with us, playing poker with us, playing trivia with us. We do all this kind of stuff, right? In our Discord, we play games in the metaverse. dApps has literally, stretched his mind to the limit. Hide and seek, races, like we've literally done it all. So along with the very necessary and important development of the product, it also comes down to the people, right? Like the relationships that you build and just sort of the energy and the vibe that you give off, and that's what we try to do is just be positive with people and fun. You can't forget about fun, right? Like
Yep.
fun is the number one ingredient. Like if you're giving people fun experiences, they're gonna want to come back. They're gonna want to enjoy your product and then bring their friends as well.
Definitely, community is the moat, in my opinion, because capital can be very mercenary, but communities, if you can build a really strong community, a really strong, digital nation state with no borders that anybody can join, anybody can be a part of, that has so much intrinsic value, in my opinion. And I'll add on maybe to the list, if you guys can wing it, is alien chats or just philosophical conversations about where aliens are. I would definitely attend those.
Go for it, bro.
And then this next question is related, as one of your differentiating points is these 3D avatars that are representations or derivatives of the original NFTs. I think this is a key value proposition I haven't seen elsewhere, where essentially you can bring your NFT and have that be unique and have this be like a watering hole of sorts for different, not just, I can imagine you can also connect, Solana and Aptos communities to join together and have discourse, play games, have events, maybe battle out in some some games like Flappy Bird or Mushroom Parkour. And yeah, that kind of goes into the next question. People want to know the process for creating these 3D avatars. What does that look like? Do you need certain skills? How do you create these avatars?
Yeah, so they actually have a really cool system that they have with the Monkey Solana business avatars, where people could claim using a ticket that they got if their avatar was in there's thousands of these NFTs, right? So every model is customized to their, I'm sure dApps has seen this too in our internal Slack channel. You see the devs working on this stuff, guys. Like we're talking about like thousands of unique character models, right? So what does that involve? Obviously it takes 3D artists, right? It takes 3D modelers. It takes a software where they can, create batches of similar models with different attributes, right? Exact same way that people generate these like
NFTs.
thousands of NFTs. In many cases, it's not an individual person going there drawing them pixel by pixel, right? They're using some sort of program, some sort of artificial intelligence that can generate and populate a bunch of unique images that are also and to become NFTs, right? So I can't really speak to the digital art side, but yeah, that's what they do. They just create all of these distinct models, and then when you have that distinct NFT, your distinct model is then populated into the metaverse. So it's not just a default character. Obviously, when you guys are playing the pre-alpha, because we want people to get an idea of how it works, you go into Ghost to Ghost, you can be the ghost. But in the future, as we develop, those NFTs are going to be relegated specifically to the owners of the actual NFT, so they have their 3D model represented in ChapterX.
Very cool, and that's a really good point that these, objects, even if they're 3D, can be overlaid the same way that the, JPEGs or PNGs can, right? And it's like, once you build the building blocks, it's very scalable, in my opinion. Cool. And yeah, I think the main question was around whether people had to build it themselves, but I think you answered it in the fact that y'all are building them, and as you partner with these NFT projects, people can kind of like log in, claim them, and start walking around as monkeys.
It's super seamless. It's super seamless. You connect your Solana wallet. I'm not totally sure on the Pontem side of it, but I'm sure they're going to sort that out as well. You can have NFTs in your Pontem wallet, I'm sure.
Yep.
And then it'll notice, right? It'll notice what you have, and then you go and claim it, and then you have it.
Awesome.
And think about how exciting that is, right? Think about the utility. It's not just a 2D image, guys. It's a 3D character you can run around with your friends in, compete in challenges, and then also play to earn, right? Everyone loves play to earn, participate in games, win Solana, win NFTs, win crypto as your digital persona. I think that's pretty sick.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to, proof of concept on Aptos. Definitely our wallet's going to be supporting NFTs, and how do we get folks embedded. We're also doing our own PFP. We're giving these out to our ambassadors, our community, so those of those listening, I know you're getting these unique Pontem PFP, so that would be awesome to kind of like proof of concept out in the future. Cool. The next question is around VR AR. So I think Chase touched on this a little bit, but if you guys have any opinions on this, what's the role of these technologies, and then what are the positive and negative impacts of this technology as well?
Yeah, some of these questions are really good questions. Some of them would probably be better suited for our founders, but we can just speak generally to it. I mean, Denex, what do you think? Like, do you think ChapterX would be cool in VR? I know you're a big VR guy.
Yeah, so I love VR. Like I said, before I was into NFTs, crypto, and anything like that, I was an avid user of VR chat. So I think it's just a matter of when it happens. Just because it kind of goes hand in hand with the metaverse VR and just that whole immersive experience of really feeling like you're in a different world compared to the real world. And I mean, there was like that kind of I don't know if you guys are all located in the U.S., but during the Super Bowl, there was kind of like the release of the Facebook's Meta launch, and they had a commercial where it was like this animatronic dog, and the world was like kind of just like in shambles. Everything was just like destroyed. It looked like there was some type of fallout, or the typical what the future's gonna look like. But he puts on this VR headset, and then he sees all of his other like animatronic friends that were kind of like tossed in the trash, and then the music's a little bit more uplifting, and he's just fully immersed in there. And then like the ending shot is like the animatronic, he's got the VR headset on, and then it like pans out, and it's like he's got a smile on his face now, but the world is still just kind of like a mess. And that's kind of like a weird analogy to kind of how the current world is, where it's like there's just so much going on where we escape into these metaverses or these VR experiences where we see as it's a better life inside the
Yeah.
VR world compared and I mean and it's even the same before the metaverse like if you're an avid player of MMOs like you said you're on RuneScape where
Yeah.
I'm sure that when you got home from school you'd much rather be online with your friends running around RuneScape being this character
Yeah.
that you've created for yourself your avatar that you identify with where you're running around in the game and people may know you either by instead of a profile picture they knew you as your tag and maybe your clan that you were with and I think that's just something that's really going to be heavily integrated with the VR like just VR AR in general and I think it even gets a little bit scarier when you get into the AR augmented reality
Yeah.
because that's when
Crazy.
it really ties into the real world because now we're not immersing ourselves in a different world we're bringing that world into the real world that we're in now to where let's say I'm at a concert and I have I don't know the Google glasses or whatever they're going to be using for
Apple.
like the
Yeah. Apple will come out soon.
experience.
Yeah. Apple and Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. First. Anyway. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you're at a concert and you see a dragon come down
Yeah.
and fly over the crowd, or you see some like crazy visuals that you wouldn't be seeing in real life. You take the glasses off, you don't see it. Put
Yeah.
the glasses on, and
It's
there's
right
just
there.
a whole another world going on
Yeah.
inside your world where it's integrated, and I think that's going to be the coolest thing ever, and as
Yeah.
well the scariest thing ever because that just means that once that starts it's just
Yeah.
going to keep
There's no going
kind
back.
of kind of back to what you said, the
Yeah.
exponential growth of where we're heading and where does it stop. I mean it's the same thing with like cell phones. It's like we created a phone that you can talk to anybody anywhere, and it's like all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
But like, do we stop there? Like, no, now we want you to be able to send a text message, and it's like all right, that was cool. Well, now we want you to have an immersive screen on there where you can play Snake and Pong or something, and now we've got full-on MMOs on our phone that we can play, and our
Yeah.
phones are basically mini computers. But is it going to stop there? No, we're going to have better cameras. We're going to
Yeah.
have AR attached to our phones. We're going to have just so much stuff integrated into it. It's the most amazing and scariest thing at
Yeah.
the same time, I think.
Yeah, AR is going to be like this world overlaid on top of the world. And I've heard such crazy things about this from certain contacts and peers I have in this industry about what's going to be capable. I know that Zuckerberg was talking about that in the podcast that you mentioned, Pontem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, AR is like a totally different thing, right? Because it's like you obviously have an immersive metaverse like ChapterX where it's like almost AR is like world 2.0, right? Like you could be walking around, there could be like digital advertising space, right? Like you wouldn't see an advertisement if you didn't have your glasses on, for example. Or I mean, in the amazing example that just sparked my imagination, Denex just shared. Imagine being at a concert and there's like dragons and like epic battles or something like on the stage to just augment the experience. It's kind of trippy to think about, but I'm sure it's something that we're going to see in our lifetimes.
Yeah, and imagine if you could just reach out and grab whatever dragon eggs are falling out, and then that's like an NFT you claim from the concert because you're able to like grab it. Yeah.
That's cool. I love that.
I think it's gonna come from both angles. I think from the form factors of the screen on your face is also gonna come from both angles. We're starting to see, you can do AR on your phone, and if you look at some of the proof of concepts, and you can get some of these on Amazon. There's like simple glasses that project projections on in front of your face, and the fidelity of it is pretty good, and it's only gonna get better. And those look like just regular sunglasses, right? And then from the top on VR, you have these headsets that are getting smaller and smaller. And I think the middle point is going to be something that looks a lot like Kanye's spectacles or glasses, that were cool back in the day. Maybe they'll bring them back. But you're going to have these glasses, and they might have cameras, or it might be a mix of cameras or opening up. And you can see the real world embedded into this digital world. And it's going to be so high fidelity that you're not even going to be able to tell the difference. Like when you go and you see a movie and there's CGI, Like some of the stuff you really can't tell what's real and what's not. And I think that's where we're heading. Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to throw some on there about just CGI. I mean, nothing really to do with the metaverse, but just we brought that up, and I think this is a really cool, I guess like a little interesting fact. So CGI, like our eyes can detect most of the time that CGI is fake, and I want to say it's Jurassic Park was the last movie to come out that kind of was like that original like animatronics, puppetronics, whatever with the dinosaurs, like the original Jurassic Park. And I think that's what made that movie so great was because there wasn't that much like visual effects or CGI to it. It was all real dinosaurs, real animatronics, and that's how a lot of movies used to be made. But then you watch something like what is it? The blue people, Avatar, where it's really cool and the CGI is amazing, but it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that is going to be really hard for a lot of this like augmented reality and stuff, where it's going to be something that we know is fake, but it feels real compared to it. Like when you look at like actual like movies, The Labyrinth, Jurassic Park, what was when Mars attacks, like those felt real because it was real, but it was still fake because it was puppeteers and stuff. So
Here,
I think that's one thing that's really like interesting about CGI and like what our eyes perceive is real and not real.
I'll counter with this. What about Paul Walker on Fast and the Furious?
I'm not really big on movies, and I can only say that I have maybe seen one Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Well, they also had that. If you saw Star Wars, what was it, guys? It was Rogue One.
Yeah,
was it Rogue One, right at the end where they had Princess Leia?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan,
Yeah.
dApps, but they had Princess Leia right at the end, and it was a little controversial. I think they did it with another character as well, but I mean, in our lifetimes, right? If you want to talk about Jurassic Park, if you want to talk about David Bowie's Labyrinth, Mars Attacks, some of the films that dApps referenced, you think about how far CGI has come, and what that really makes me think of is like, at what point will CGI become something where we can't even tell the difference between, they talk about like these deep fakes, right?
Yeah.
Like I saw a deep fake the other day of King Charles, right? The new King of England. And like for a second, I actually really thought it was him speaking, but he was saying some absurd shit, like, like people do on deep fakes. But it won't be much longer. It won't be much longer until we really cannot tell the difference. And then just to add on to that quickly, if you have your augmented VR glasses on, like you're going to be seeing things that look completely and utterly real, but are not real. And then what are the implications of that? From an entertainment standpoint, that sounds pretty sick. But then you start to think about like someone having like a virtual girlfriend or something like that. Like,
and is it
the difference between what's real and what's not?
Yeah.
And we already know that internet addiction, game addiction is like a pretty serious issue.
Porn addiction.
And then
yeah.
Once things get more immersive, like where is that going to end up? It's just a really interesting thought experiment to consider.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, I just put CGI realistic, and the top, it's like whatever million views, top 7, and this is from 2021. So I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think the trajectory we're going, it's just a matter of more and more high fidelity, and once we get, I think like the eye starts to not be able to tell the difference around 8K. I think you could probably still tell the difference if you look hard enough, but it'll get so close that our brains will just start to also meld it, and we won't even if we don't try. If you just kind of unfocus your brain a little bit, you'll be like, okay, yeah, this is a real dog or a real person. Alexa's my real servant, and then it gets a little bit weird. Like, do these folks have rights and stuff? Maybe. Okay, I know we definitely got deep in here. It's 11:30, so it's been an hour and a half. I do also have to hop and do some other stuff, and really appreciate y'all for coming on and. This has been fun. We'll definitely do more of these. We'll share the right link next time to get normally we get over 100 people in these, but we'll share the Maybe we do the town hall. That would be awesome to do a town hall in your game
That's
next
what I was
time.
just about to say. So next Friday, guys, we have a Project Lab show that we do on Twitter. So we could definitely get everybody in there. We could set up some kind of giveaway, guys. So if you want to come back next Friday, stay tuned for announcements on Twitter. I think we talked about that internally between our teams. We can host you guys in our Discord server or in our Twitter profile. But I could just say thank you so much for having us. Like, we are so excited about the integration with Aptos and Pontem. I think you've done a terrific job of hosting this call today. I really like the Joe Rogan vibes for sure. Kind of like sometimes, when you go off on these little detours from the beaten path, it's actually quite interesting and fun to talk about all the surrounding issues. So thank you very much for having us, and we look forward to just integrating with you guys closer. And thanks to everyone. We got 40 people here. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you all. All right.
All right, guys.
Take care.
All right, have a good one.